Okay, getting started on 1.1. Example 1, approximate the coordinates of the points. Okay, so first we move along the x-axis and then the y. So for A, I have to move over 1 and then about 0.5, and then I go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So the coordinates of A for x is 1.5, and for y is -4. For B, we don't go anywhere on the x-axis, but we go down 2. So for the x, it's 0, and for the y, it's -2. For C, we're going to go back 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go up 1, 2, and this is about 0.5. So we're going back 3, -3, and we go up 2.5. And for D, we are going to go back 3, 4, 5, 6, and we don't go up or down at all. So for the y, it's 0. All right, there's your coordinates for all the points. On to the next example. Okay, determine the quadrants in which xy is located so that the conditions is or are satisfied. Okay, so refreshing your memory on quadrants. The first quadrant starts at the top right, and then it goes counterclockwise. That's the second, that's the third, and that's the fourth. Okay, let's see if it satisfies these conditions. So x is less than 0. So if x is less than 0, that means I'm going to the left here, and then all my values have to lie in these two regions. If y is less than 0, then that means I'm going down here, and all my values for y have to be in these two regions. Okay? But where do the regions overlap? Quadrant 3. So that's your answer. Okay, quadrant 3 for part A. Now for part B, x is greater than 2. So here I'm at 2, and it's greater than 2. So I can make a little dotted line here. And all my x values have to be greater than 2. And then it says y is equal to 3. All right, y is equal to 3. Okay, now that's all y values that are 3. So here are all my points that have an x value greater than 2 and a y value of 3. And in what region do all those points lie? Or what quadrant? Quadrant 1. On to the next example. All right, before we get started with the example, what is the Pythagorean theorem? Well, it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. All right, and the Pythagorean theorem is applied only to right triangles. Right triangles. Okay, so let's figure out what the side lengths are for this right triangle. Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. That length there is 4. And then here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this length is 7. Okay, so this is my A. That's my B. I need to figure out C. So I have 7 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. So 49 plus 16 equals C squared. I got 65 equals C squared. Take the square root of both sides. Can you simplify the square root of 65? Try the prime factor tree. You cannot. So C is equal to the square root of 65. All right, the relationship between the distance formula and the Pythagorean theorem is shown on page 4. This was from the old textbook, so maybe on a different page. All right, but the Pythagorean theorem and distance formula are related to each other. All right, so this is essentially the change in the x's. So x1 minus x2, and then I'm squaring it. And that's plus, this is the change in the y's. So y1 minus y2 squared. And there's no square here because you're square rooting both sides to isolate the d. So there's your distance formula. Midpoint formula is very simple. You just add up the x's and you divide by 2. You're just finding the average between the two values, and the average is in the middle. y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay, going on to the next example. Find the distance between the points and find the midpoint of the line. All right, so using the distance formula, got x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, using the distance formula, what do we have? D is equal to the square root of x1, which is negative 7, minus 2 squared plus y1, which is negative 4, minus y2, which is 8. All right, now some students use the formula where they start with x2 and then x1. It doesn't matter which way you do it. Start with the 1s and then go with the 2s, or start with the 2s and then go with the 1s, and you'll still get the same result. All right, so simplifying this, we get negative 9 squared plus negative 12 squared. We have 81 plus 144, which is 225. Square root of 225, what times itself is 225? That would be 15. So D is equal to 15. All right, and then for the midpoint formula, x1 is negative 7 plus x2, which is 2 over 2. And then y1, which is negative 4, plus y2, which is 8 over 2. All right, so we have negative 5 over 2. And negative 4 plus 8 is 4 over 2. We could simplify that further. And we get negative 5 over 2, 2 for our midpoint. Done with that, on to the next example. All right, dimensions of a container, example 5. The width of a rectangular storage container is 1.5 times the height. All right, width is 1.5 times the height. The length of the container is 16 inches. Length is 16 inches. And the volume is 2,000 cubic inches. All right, draw a diagram that represents the problem. Label the height, width, and length accordingly. Okay, so we draw a rectangle. We draw 3 parallel lines, horizontal line, vertical line. I have my height, my width, and my length. Okay, part B. Write W in terms of H and write an equation for the volume in terms of H. All right, W in terms of H. What does that mean? So you have W, and it's equal to some expression that contains H. Well, they tell you that the width is 1.25 times the height. So W is equal to 1.25 times H. Okay, that's writing the width in terms of H. All right, the expression contains H. And then they say the volume in terms of H. All right, volume equals length times width times height. Okay, and they tell me that the length is 16. I know that the width is 1.25 H, and then I have H once again. So in terms of H, look at this expression now. I have H, H, and no other variables. All right, so that's writing the volume in terms of H. Let's simplify this, and I get 20 H squared. All right, so that answers part B. Then I have part C. Find the dimensions of the container. Okay, so they gave me 2,000 for the volume, so I'll plug into the formula. 2,000 equals 20 H squared. I'll divide by 20. And let's see, what do I get? I get 100 equals H squared. To get h by itself, take the square root of both sides. We don't have to worry about the positive and the negative because you can't have a negative height. And I get h equals 10. Okay, I have that. The width is 1.25 times h, so the width is 12.5. And the length is 16. All right, so putting it all together, they ask me to find the dimensions. All right, so how do you express dimensions? Okay, so it's the width. And use like a multiplication symbol. Yeah, 12.5 inches by 16 inches by 10 inches. Okay, that's how you express the dimensions. All right, there's example 5. That's it. Now go to the bottom of the web page and begin working on the assignment. Make sure to ask questions if you have any.